Hi, and welcome to ITR Economic's Macroeconomic Update. My name is Tara Bayke, and I'm very excited to walk you through what's currently going on in the economy today. So before we actually get into what's going on with the economy, I like to start with this slide here. So this is our accuracy rate in terms of our forecasting. So as we go through these subsequent slides, as we're talking through economic indicators, as we're talking through inflation and some of those really top of mind concepts, just keep in mind that our track record kind of speaks for itself. Overall, what we're going to discuss are some macroeconomic signals for 2025, some very top of mind topics like what's going on globally, different business cycles, where different industries are in those cycles, and just some general highlights of the economy. So currently, where are those rises? Spoiler alert, there's a bit of a mild rise that's forecasted. Where those will be, what are some competitive advantages to take advantage of as we go into the next couple of years? So lots of very interesting topics that we plan to discuss today. Starting out with the global economy. So here we're looking at the U.S. Industrial Production Index compared to the World Industrial Production Index. We have our rates of change here. And as you can see, there's a very close correlation between both the U.S. and World Industrial Production Indexes. And that's mainly because what happens in the United States has a significant effect on the world industrial production and vice versa. So here we can see that both lines mild growth, both on the world and U.S. fronts. So overall, you can take this as fairly good news. From here, we can drill down into the individual countries and regions beyond the U.S. So where exactly is that growth in the world economy coming from? So if we look at that 2025 column, this represents where these different countries will be by the end of 2025. So you can see for the most part, most countries, really with the exception of Brazil, unfortunately, will be in a growth phase. Most will be in accelerating growth. You can see China down here. They will still be in growth, but they've been in a slowing growth phase even currently. So that will continue. That will change in 2026 as they enter accelerating growth and then back into slowing growth. And as you can see, by the end of 2027, all of these countries and regions will actually be in either a slowing or an accelerated growth phase. So this supports that rise in the world industrial production that we looked at previously. Now, looking at just the U.S. Industrial Production Index by itself. So if we look at that bottom line, this is our 3 MMA and our 12 MMA. So if you look towards where we have our forecast, you can see that the general trajectory is upward. So from about down here, if we look towards around right before 2022, so around 2021, no surprise that we had quite a drop in terms of production. But since then, we have recovered quite a bit. Bit of a plateau back between 2024, but now you can see our forecast is showing that there will be quite a bit of growth. And if we compare that forecasted growth to previous years, we can actually see that growth is actually a little bit higher than even those non-recessionary periods that we experienced in the past. So again, great news here. If we look upwards at our 312 and 1212 lines, again, we can see forecasted growth. So that forecast is just above the zero line. So again, forecasting growth, but this is something that we would consider mild growth. So about 1.5% by end of 2026. So overall, what we're seeing in terms of the economy is mild growth. So don't expect to stock up on massive amounts of inventory. Don't expect to see a massive shoot up in terms of retail sales, but do expect to prepare ahead of time for an uptick in terms of business activity. Things like wages, rents, those will tend to increase in terms of price. So think about your overall pricing strategy, what your plan is in terms of whether or not you will have to increase prices. That's something that you likely want to do before growth starts to happen in your respective industry. Before orders start to come in, you want to have your pricing down so that consumers are not confused about what price to pay. But just know that based on our inflation indicators, there will be an increase in terms of price. So just strategize around how you will pass that on to consumers. But overall, the takeaway here is that this is good news that the economy will be experiencing some overall mild growth.